The newest installment into the Scream franchise is finally in theaters, and I have my spoiler-free review for it right now. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're talking about the 6th installment in the Scream franchise, simply titled Scream 6. Once again directed by Bettenelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillett, this film once again has a reprising cast of people like Melissa Barrera, Jenna Ortega, Jasmine Soroy Brown, Mason Gooding, Courtney Cox, Hayden Panettiere, and has some new faces in here like Jack Champion and Josh Segarra, as well as many more. Hey guys, welcome back to another review, and today, we're talking about the brand new film in the Scream franchise, Scream 6, and I'm so glad they called this one Scream 6, but I gotta start this off by saying that it's kind of annoying to me that when you look on IMDb or anywhere that these films are listed, it's Scream, Scream 2 with the number 2, Scream 3, and Scream 4 with the numbers 3 and 4, then the 5th film is just titled Scream, and they do make reference to why that is in the film itself, even though it is the 5th film in the franchise. And now we have Scream 6, but with Roman numerals. Why? But without those little nitpicks of something like the title, I just came out of the theaters and I just checked out the brand new film. And if you've been following the channel for a while, you know I am a huge fan of the slasher genre and a huge fan of the Scream films. And as much as I love films like the Child's Play franchise, which is ultimately my favorite one because of how stupid and silly it is, I think Scream ultimately is probably the strongest slasher franchise across the board in terms of consistency in its characters, its writings, its reveal, and overall just what makes these films what they are. Overall, I had a blast with this film. I'm happy to say that I was a huge fan of it once again. I really enjoyed the film they released last year, just titled Scream, the 2022 one. I thought it was a great return to the franchise that followed similar vibes to the original, definitely played on that as they mentioned in that film, and in this film it was a requel, a sequel that kind of has to play as a reboot in a way that still has legacy characters, and so because of that they definitely leaned heavy into kind of doing a bit of a retelling of the original film, but in a different way, kind of. But I really enjoyed that film, and here we are now with the 6th film in the franchise that brings back characters, of course, from the original, like Courtney Cox, as well as Hayden Panettiere coming back from the 4th film, and a reprising cast of the core 4, as they put it in this film, from the previous film who survived and are now in this film. And this one most notably takes place in Manhattan, or in New York City in general, which I thought was great because of course it's always fun when you take a franchise like this to New York. We've seen it done with Jason when Jason took Manhattan for a very short period of time in that film. There's even a small reference to Jason Takes Manhattan in this film, which I thought was great, and I'm happy to say that this one is substantially better than Jason's taking of Manhattan, and I thought that they really used the scenery well here. I thought they utilized the New York environment in a cool way. They placed this during Halloween, so it was definitely able to kind of lean into the fact that everybody's in costumes and there's multiple people walking around in Ghostface costumes, which I thought was really interesting. And overall, I'm happy to say I enjoyed this film. I think that it's just consistently such a thing that puts a smile on my face to be able to see that this franchise has been able to keep quality, whether this is going to be your favorite in the franchise or one of your favorites or whatever the case may be. I think it's awesome that this franchise has consistently been able to keep up quality when you can look at so many other slasher franchises that have an inconsistency in quality, where there are certain films that are some of the best horror films ever made, and then certain films in their franchises that are absolutely terrible, just absolute dog crap. And so I'm so happy to once again have another Ghostface film that's just solid, that plays on the legacy of the previous films, that is well shot, it's well acted, it's got some great moments of gore, there's some great kills. If you're coming into this for the slasher element of it, it's certainly present here. And I just really enjoyed the way that this film was made, and I'm just happy to know that I enjoyed the film once again. So the base premise here, without getting too far into it, is the core 4, the surviving individuals from the last film, have moved to New York, as most of them are going over there now for school, for college, most notably, Jenna Ortega's character and the rest of the gang. And you have Melissa Barrera, who's just kind of there watching over her sister after the horrible incident that they faced in the last film. She's a lot more paranoid now. Obviously, she learned who her father was in that previous film, and she's struggling with who she is. She's going to therapy. She's trying to figure out what the next step of not living in this trauma is for her. And not too long into the film, unfortunately, Ghostface reappears, and there's a story that unfolds that, of course, I won't get into it, because classically, these are whodunits, and you kind of want to know who's done it throughout it. You want to figure out who did it, and once again, you have a great fun mystery to unravel here. I thought the reveal at the end for who Ghostface was pretty solid. I enjoyed it. I don't know if it's going to be people's favorite reveals in the franchise, but it's definitely not my least favorite reveals that they've had in this franchise. I was definitely along for the journey, and I found it to be a lot of fun. And one of the things I found the most notable here going into it that was really interesting is that Melissa Barrera's character is not only trying to play this protective role for not only herself but her peers and her sister, but now she's got to deal with the fact that everybody kind of knows who she is. They know that she's related to Billy Loomis from the original film. That's her father. And now there's been all these rumors being kind of built around the fact that she possibly is a Ghostface killer herself, that she orchestrated all the events of the previous film. So on top of trying to deal with the trauma of the previous film and deal with the trauma of learning who her father was, and trying to also protect her sister and her friends and her family around her, she's also got to deal with the fact that there's this huge online conspiracy that she herself is a psychopath. And so I really thought that Melissa Barrera had a lot of weight on her shoulders when it came to her character here. I really thoroughly enjoyed specifically Sam and Tara, played by Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega. I thought the two of them gave fantastic performances here. I felt their sisterly bond was a lot stronger in this film than in the previous film. They had a lot more time together. You can tell that they were far more comfortable in these characters. And without a doubt, that was definitely one of my favorite parts of the film. It was those two together. It was the time spent together and their performances that really made this film what it is. Beyond that, when it comes to the kills, the Ghostface stuff, yeah, this film definitely delivers. I would argue this is probably one of the goriest films in the franchise, with some of the most intense kills. There was definitely plenty of moments in the film where people across the theater were definitely gasping, or having moments where people were shrieking, or everybody was kind of, just really into the kills and what was going on. There were some shocking moments throughout. Of course, like any other film, there are people that are going to be fodder, people that you can already tell are going to be the ones that die first, or are some of the first ones to die. And so this film definitely has a lot of that on display. There are certain things about it that are going to be very cliche when it comes to the slasher genre, but in terms of it playing off of the previous films while also telling its own story, I thought it really did it in a fun and exciting way. I found myself engaged from beginning to end, and this film touches a lot on legacy, which the last two films in general, this one and the last one, have definitely done a lot of that legacy topic. And I thought that this film did a really great job of being its own film that had its own story, that introduced its own characters while also introducing its own threat, but very heavily relies on the previous films, and I think really utilizes them in a really great way. This is a film that definitely stands on the shoulders of the legacy of this franchise, not only with the legacy characters that return, but also with tons of little Easter eggs and hints and nods and moments that come back from all these other films that really help elevate the material here and give the impact of certain moments a lot more weight. And so beyond it being a fun slasher with good performances and good kills, I also feel like it is a great installment into the Scream franchise that definitely is carrying the legacy of the previous films in this film, definitely giving it that energy that you come to expect from the Scream franchise. And yeah, again, like the kills are great. I thought that Ghostface was definitely menacing and creepy in this film. There are definitely elements of this film I would argue are some of the creepiest and most menacing moments when it comes to Ghostface, in terms of some of the cinematography and the lighting of certain moments. There's a moment that you can see in the trailer where they are in the subway and Ghostface is in there, and I thought a lot of that was really, really well done. There's a really great sense of ambiance throughout the course of the film. There's a great musical score throughout. The film was very well paced, well edited. The audience I was seeing it with definitely was having a lot of fun. There was laughter and the great meta, very self-aware moments that you come to expect from this franchise, as well as the really, tense moments of action and people getting killed and people getting chased and all that kind of stuff that you come to expect from this franchise. franchise. You can tell everybody was having fun. I had a lot of fun. I want to revisit the film a lot. And yeah, you know, I think this is a great installment into the franchise that I think years from now, decades from now, will definitely stand the test of time alongside the other 5 films in this franchise. And yeah, you know, again, I just gotta really praise the creators for clearly loving the source material, clearly loving this franchise, and clearly wanting to make films that are able to hold their own with what Wes Craven did with the first 4 films. And I think it's just amazing that this is a franchise that has been so consistent when it comes to its characters, when it comes to its writing, when it comes to its tension, when it comes to its overall film quality. This isn't a franchise like all the other big slashers that have a lot of really crappy installments in the mix. I think that every installment in this franchise has consistently been either a good, really good, or awesome film. And I'm happy to say that this is probably one of my favorites now when I look back on the Scream franchise. You know, I've watched most of the other Scream films a bunch of times, especially when I was really young, so there's a little bit more of a nostalgic attachment, but I can already see that there are elements of this film that I want to revisit more than even elements of some of the previous films, just because of some of the modern elements that come from modern day filmmaking that definitely gave this a cool, different, unique flair that felt a little bit more modernized. And the Ghostface stuff I just thought was great. There are some really cool shots of Ghostface in here, some really cool moments of Ghostface in here, especially near the third act. And yeah, overall a good fun time at the theaters. I think if you're a fan of horror, if you're a fan of slashers, or if you're a fan of the Scream franchise, you're gonna have a lot of fun. I thought this was a good time. It was funny throughout as well. I haven't touched too much on it here, but there's plenty of that great meta, self-aware comedy and humor and commentary that you come to expect from the franchise in terms of the rules and all that kind of stuff that you always see in these films. But I also thought it was really interesting that this film had some meta commentary on the real world ideas of how, you know, journalism and the internet takes on real life crime at times and tends to warp it and creates conspiracies and different perspectives on true crime that people really weren't present for or don't know all the information on. And this film definitely touches on that, and that's definitely been a topic in the real world that's definitely notable, and I thought that the film handled it in a very interesting way. So I won't waste any more of your time. A big thanks to you guys for watching. Hit that like button, comment your thoughts, subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.